Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fat Loss Basics. Thanks so much for joining. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Crazy busy weekend this last weekend. Celebrated the sister's birthday, and that was just kind of a whole weekend adventure, which is cool. It was wonderful. This week, I am preparing to start solo parenting for about a month. Yay. Actually, it's okay because I feel like I did it for so long that we just kind of, shift. We just shift into, mom mode, and the ship just kind of runs itself, which is kind of nice. Things here typically are very structured, which is something I actually want to talk about today. I noticed this was coming up quite a bit this week in my client check-ins. And so I want to just chat about what structure and why structure is such an important thing in the busy seasons of life and all these things. And even in this a little bit of an accountability challenge that I'm entering and have been doing for all of April. So now I'm 20 days in technically, because this is a Monday that I'm recording. But I am sticking to it. It's not perfect. I'm excited to kind of show you like what percentage of things that I am at, whether it's my water, my steps, or tracking my food. What I do know is that I am definitely, even though the scale's not shifting a whole bunch, it is a little bit of a shift, not a lot of bit of a shift, and that's okay. Things feel different. Even, today is day 1 of my cycle, and I actually looked in the gym mirror and I was like, wow, I look leaner. Like, I just feel like I look leaner. It might not be true. My brain just might be trying to play a little bit of a trick on me, which is not abnormal. This was why some days, this is totally off topic, but like why some days you can feel like you look lean and other days, like the next day you wake up, you're like, oh my gosh, I look so fat. It's literally just kind of how your brain interprets what it sees. It doesn't necessarily mean you are leaner. However, I will say my clothes are definitely starting to feel and look different on my body. That is a huge indicator of fat loss over weight loss. And that's a whole different podcast. I've talked about it numerous times. Probably something I should do here in the near future. But that being said, I just want to talk about this structure piece and why this structure piece is so important and why my husband's going to be gone for a month, and it might feel like it should be very chaotic, but it's actually going to be quite the opposite. And I also noticed this come up in some check-ins this last week. So let's dive in. In general, I would say that March was pretty kind of crazy for some of my clients. Some just things happening, whether it's work or kids or unexpected, health things that arose during this time, unexpected travel, those kinds of things. It was very kind of chaotic, if you will. Again, you would normally think that my husband leaving for a month is going to be like, whoa, oh my gosh, you're going to have to do it all. But this is why the structure is so incredibly important, because while this journey isn't just check the boxes, sometimes checking those boxes is actually the thing that gets it done, whether to make sure we get in our workouts or our steps or our water or our food tracked like I'm doing currently. Even though it doesn't feel like, okay, every single day we can't just keep checking off a box, or it has to be more meaningful than checking off a box. Like, understood. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but sometimes it really truly is, I just need to accomplish this task. Okay. And so I feel like March was just kind of chaotic, kind of busy for people. And then once April hit, things started to settle down a little bit. And now, Thursday's check-ins was, mid-month at that point, the 16th. And all of a sudden, schedules kind of disappeared. There was a little bit more free time. Maybe work became a little less busy, those kinds of things. And all of a sudden, things are starting to become harder for people. I'm just not as motivated. I'm just not there. The steps aren't happening. The tracking is like, I haven't been doing great, or I've been eating out more, or insert whatever this is. And it's like, okay, let's talk about that, because technically it appears you had more quote unquote time. Again, I'm not under the guise of everybody has 24 hours. They all look different. I understand that, right? But it looks like your schedule slowed, your travel slowed, things slowed down schedule-wise, and yet for some reason, you were quote unquote fell off or a little bit off track or not as motivated, right? And I'm like, well, that makes sense, because when you lose that structure of I have to get this done now, because if I don't get it done now, it's not going to get done, right? There's no room for deviation during that time when there's structure, when things are busy, right? If you have to get your walk in or your workout in at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's what you have to do. Like my one client who I train in person one-on-one, and my other client who I train in person one-on-one, they are 5:30. So I am working 5:30 basically every single day because that's when they have to get it in. They both have full-time jobs. Evenings aren't an option. What happens when it gets busy? Oh, this thing came up, or my son got sent home from school because he was sick, or this, whatever, right? Now you don't have the time to do it, right? So if your workout is at 6:30, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, because that's when it has to get done, it gets done, right? When you can meal or ingredient prep, right? Because you don't have time to fucking figure shit out during the week, it gets done. And not only does it get done, but you follow through on eating it because you don't have fucking time to stop and do the other things or stop and get this thing or stop on your way home or blah, 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 blah. No, because you have to go pick up kids or you have to do this or you have to get that done or you have a meeting or whatever the case is. That structure, that routine starts to just be the reason why you have to do the things that you have to do and why you're executing, right? There is zero space for your brain to go whoop off to the side. Like, okay, hey, let me try to negotiate with you, right? But when we have more time, when we have more open space, if you will, that creates space for your brain to try to find holes. I can work out later. Later never happens. I don't have time to prep and I don't I don't need to prep. I mean, I have time to cook this week, or I'm just going to plan my dinners. And then all of a sudden you're not doing that. You're not cooking. You're like, oh, I'll just, go out today. I'll just grab some Taco Bell, right? Oh, I'll just track my food after dinner. Well, after dinner, you just sit on the TV, you watch your Netflix, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, boom, you're, in bed and it's the next day and you're like, shit, I don't remember what I ate and I forgot to weigh it or I weighed it and I don't remember how much it was, right? And that space of lack of structure leaves room for error. It leaves room for deviation. It leaves room for your brain to go, you don't have to do this right now. You're good. You got time later. Like, it's all good. And this is where I see a lot of mistakes happen. And I don't mean mistakes as like the imperfection part of this. I see mistakes as in we think we have more time, or we just tell ourselves we're going to do it later, and then we don't follow through. Right. So I think that that's the entire point, where it's like my husband's getting ready to leave for a month, but that actually means I'm going to be more structured. It's going to be easier for me to stay, quote unquote, on track and in the game and on the field, because that structure is going to remove the space, the idea for my brain to say, hey, let's negotiate. Hey, let's put that off for a little bit, right? So when I'm busy, or when my husband leaves for a month, or when your business is busy right now, or when you have to travel, or when you have XYZ things to do, or the kids are here and there, right? You build the structure because you need the structure. There's no room for other choices, for other options, for other deviations. But when you're not busy and you have this time, quote unquote, a little bit more room to breathe, if you will, your brain's like, hey, let's see what we can do with that. Okay. So let's go ahead and just break this down. When I'm talking about trying to build out a schedule, when you have like my clients where they're working all day and then there's appointments in the evening and afternoon and things like that, or they have kids that they have to take to this place or whatever that looks like. Okay. And it's like, okay, so now we know that we need to get our workout in Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 o'clock. This means you have to be up at X time, and we kind of build it out from there. So you set your alarm, the alarm goes off, you get up, workout's done. Now we don't have to worry about negotiating. I don't have to worry about hitting that snooze button, because I know that if I don't do it now, it's not going to get done. And I want to follow through. I want to be a diet dropout queen. I want to do the things that I need to do in order to get me where I want to go. Right? So now I know it's 6 a.m. or it's absolutely nothing. Same thing's going to be with your food. This is how I am. Right now, even if I know what I'm having throughout the week, it's fine. I know for a fact on Mondays and Thursdays, I have to have a crock pot meal, because I can't rely on anybody else. including my husband, to be home to do the things to get dinner ready. So what do? Monday, Thursday are always crock pot meals. Always. There's no other choice. They have to be crock pot meal. So when I'm doing in my meal planning and my specifically dinner planning for the week, okay, Monday, Wednesday have to be crock pot meals. There is no negotiation. I don't have to talk myself into something. I'm just going to execute. What can I do in the crock pot? It's a requirement. It is just part of the process, okay? So when things start to slow down, as things did, right? Or as things can, work slows down a little bit, kids' schedules get a little bit lighter maybe, you have a little bit of like free time, like I said, a little bit of room to breathe, right? It's like, now I have some time to actually focus on this. And now I can be more consistent, except you're not, because you wake up at 6 and you go, I can get that workout in later. I can do that later. So you don't work out at 6, but later comes, you're doing other stuff. It's 3 p.m. You're like, I'll work out after dinner. And then dinner, you're just tired. You're like, I gotta clean up. I gotta give the kids baths and do all the things. I'll just do it tomorrow. And now you've put the one thing off already. Not because you were too busy, but because you had, quote unquote, too much time, too much flexibility, not enough structure. Right? So same thing with your food happens. Like, it's fine. I'll just go off the fly on what we're having for dinner. I'll just cook. I'll just do whatever. I don't have to plan anything. Then Monday comes, you're like, I'll cook tomorrow. I'll just order something tonight. And then Tuesday, you're like, I'm kind of tired again. Work was chaotic. Kids are whatever. I just don't feel like cooking. I'll cook Wednesday. Wednesday comes, you're like, fuck it. I'll just meal prep this weekend. I should have just done that this week. And now you're not doing the things that align with your goals. You are not consistent with it. Not because you're too busy, but because you didn't have structure, right? Same thing with the tracking, okay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe you're getting a clue here as to what is actually happening. The space is essentially creating room for you, for error, for negotiation, for deviation. And when I say create space for error, I'm not talking about you, bad person, didn't do the thing, right? What is creating, when I say error, I just say, it's just like you're not following through, okay? You're not following through. And so when you are busy and there is no option, that negotiation gets turned off and there's no space to do it, right? So this is also where I see a lot of women struggle with the weekend versus the weekday. This is why we are quote unquote good. I don't know why I said that twice. Good during the week. And then we fall the fuck apart. Oh, but I was so good this week. And then I just got it to the weekend, right? Monday through Friday, you typically have a very routine schedule. You wake up, you go to work, you do the meetings, you have the kids, you do the dinners, blah, 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 blah. It's the same schedule pretty much Monday through Friday. I'm not saying every single person is this way, but it's essentially, if you work a 9 to 5, often that is the reality. Okay. So your workout's at 6 a.m. because that's when you have to get it done. Your breakfast is very simple. It's easy because that's what you have to do. And you don't even have to think about it. It's just on repeat, right? Same kind of thing. So you are very consistent during the week because it has to be this way in order for you to have success. It's built into your routine. And you're crushing it and you're killing it and you're on track and you're like, awesome. But then the weekend comes. And it's not that the weekdays are easier. It's actually because they have structure, right? So now we're not waking up at the same time. We aren't working out. We're not moving our body. You sleep in. It's like, I have all day to get my workout in, or today's a rest day, which is also fine. Nothing wrong with a rest day, right? You're like, I'll just eat whatever the kids want for breakfast. There's no routine. And then by Sunday, you're like, oh, fuck. What just happened? How are we already Sunday here? And I didn't do a damn thing. I did nothing. And it's not because you had less time. And in fact, most of us, it's a little bit opposite. And it doesn't mean that we still didn't have kids' sporting events or all these things that or other things happening. It's honestly because there's just no structure. And we are treating the weekend very differently than a weekday. And I don't find that's very helpful for most people. Okay. It's a lack of structure. It's a lack of consistency on what your week looks like. And so if you are treating them a little bit different, we have to understand that we have this idea in our head that weekdays have to be on plan and our weekends are off plan. Weekdays are structured and weekends are a little bit more free. This is why everybody's like, oh, I put my cheat meal on a Saturday. Fuck your cheat meal, dude. Build it in to your fucking plan and have just what you want to eat. Right? We don't always have to go out on the weekends, or we don't always have to go do something on the weekends just because it's the weekend. We treat them so very different, right? Weekdays are work. Weekends are for relaxation. And this is the problem. When you treat them differently, the weekend versus the weekday, you also take away all the structure that you have worked so hard to build for 4 or 5 days. And when you take away that structure, boom, we just created space. And enters Mr. Negotiation. It's fine. Just start again Monday. Not a big deal. Just, it's the weekend. Have your cheat meal. And your cheat meal turns into a whole cheat weekend. Because there's nothing positive about cheat anything. That's a whole different podcast topic, which I've already talked about once before, right? So we need to flip that and start treating our weekends fairly similar to how we would treat Monday through Friday. And I'm not saying that you can't sleep in a little bit. Like, I'm not saying that that's not a thing. Now, ideally for our circadian rhythm, we actually want to be sleeping and waking all 7 days of the week at the same time. I don't do that. I'm just going to be super honest with you. I am not up at 4:40 on Saturday. I'm not. Okay? I'm not. But if you work out at whatever time, maybe at 8 o'clock and you in your rest day, okay, we'll get up if you work out at like 6 o'clock and you have your rest day on a Saturday and Sunday, maybe you just get up and get up at 8 o'clock every Saturday and Sunday. And maybe you don't have to go work out, but could you start your morning with a walk, which would be very beneficial, or just some light stretching or deep breathing, right? Maybe your meals are not very different, especially your breakfast and your lunch. Maybe you go out on Saturday night and that's your thing, or Friday night and that's your thing, but you still have your go-tos. You still track your food. You still do what you're supposed to do. Same structure, slightly adjusted. It's still there though. You're just executing the same shit. Might look a little bit different, but it can't look completely night and day, because that is the structure that's going to keep you on the field, staying in alignment with what you want, okay? And so I want to be clear that this is not a time thing. This is a staying consistent thing. And being consistent isn't a time problem. It's just giving yourself less space for your brain to negotiate, to put it off, or to do it later, or to tell you that the structure is different when it's really not. Okay? So, this is the biggest piece that I hear a lot of women, minus the weekday versus weekend, is that I just don't have time. I'll start when life calms down. I'll get serious about this after my vacation. I'll focus on this when I have more time. The reality is that you don't need more time. You need more structure. And actually, the busier you are when you start, the better off you're going to be. Because when you are busy and can do this shit and you can build structure around the busy, then all you have to do is, even when that time opens up a little bit and you have more space, you just have to execute what you've been doing in the busy season on the non-busy season. And honestly, I think that that's a lot harder. So many women are like, oh, it's so hard to do this. I don't have enough time. I'm like, actually, it's not your problem. You have the time. Yes, we all have different 24 hours because we don't have the same life. I understand. I hear you. There's still a way to figure out how it can work for you, though. That's the thing. Trying to build somebody else's plan into your life doesn't work either. You have to figure out what works for you, okay? And I want to be clear, when I'm talking about structure to me is not being super rigid, and it's not planning out every fucking meal or every single element of the day. But it is saying, I'm going to work out at 6 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's my plan. Not I'll work out sometime this week, or I don't know when I'll have time. I'll just figure it out. That is not structure. 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's when it happens. There is no negotiation. There is no space. It's just execution. I can't tell you how many fucking times, if I had $1, I'd have $100 by now. But Ladies Lift Club, If I wasn't scheduled to come here, Sarah, I would not be doing my workout right now. Exactly. That is the problem. Not because they don't have time. Not because they, it's life is so busy, because it's very difficult. So when you set an appointment with yourself, you keep the appointment, right? Making sure that you have some go-to meals. This is something that we are working on in the Diet Dropout method with my Fat Loss Basics group coaching clients. What are your 3 to 5 go-to meals? I can tell you right now what my 3 to 5 go-to meals are right now. Are you ready? Okay. Some kind of protein, ground meat, and or chicken already cooked. Rice, I typically have right on hand. Some kind of vegetable, peas, carrots, or broccoli are my go-to 3 vegetables that I always have on hand. I will mix and match all of these. Another go-to meal, eggs with a bagel and either some kind of turkey sausage or turkey bacon or something, chicken sausage, something along those lines. And maybe an apple for a breakfast. I don't know. Okay. And let's see, what's another one that I use? Well, I often use the same one. The first one, I just change what I put in it frequently, actually. And it's like the easiest go-to meal. But honestly, even just like having a grilled cheese sandwich with some meat on it, having some popcorn chicken in the air fryer really fast with a side of rice and a vegetable. Boom, done. And you could even make that like a rice bowl or something if you wanted. It can be very simple, right? So having a few go-to meals that you can plan. We don't have to make a bunch of decisions or overthink anything. We're just going to execute it. Okay? Same thing with tracking our food. I'm just going to do this. Right. That's 11 now Vantage. Leave me alone. Okay? So I think that that's an important piece. So when we have the breakdown of this structure, we leave room to offer our brain to negotiate with ourselves. We don't have to do it now. We can do it later. And all of a sudden, the things stop happening. Not because you get more busy. It's because you actually have more time and then you did not stick to the plan. And this is what I noticed this last week in some check-ins by multiple people, not one person, but multiple people. And it was trying to figure out like, why was I so busy and I was able to execute? Because you didn't have a choice. So if you wanted to follow through, you made the plan and you stuck to the plan. The moment that you had a little bit of free time, you opened yourself up to negotiate with yourself. Well, I can't do this now because I don't have XYZ. Or I'm just kind of tired. Or I didn't sleep well last night. Yet in March, it was like, I don't give a shit. I'm getting my XYZ done. It's happening. Okay. So how do you build some structure? I always say, what are your non-negotiables? What is something that is the biggest lever that's going to help you move? Is it you're working out? Is it what you're eating? Is it you're tracking your food? Is it you drinking your water? Is it getting some sleep? Is it getting in your steps? What does that look like? And build it into your routine. Make it a part of your day. Okay? It's deciding this is the plan and then following it and executing it. Maybe it's just making sure that your weekends look a lot more like your weekday with small minor adjustments. Okay? I promise that you don't need quote unquote more time to be consistent. You just need less space for your brain to negotiate with yourself. Okay? If you're busy and you have the structure, you just have to execute it. There's no room to talk yourself out of doing the things. And this is why the weekends often feel so much harder than the weekdays. When you remove that structure, you create space. And that's hard. Okay? And that often gives us also permission to do things that we wouldn't normally do, AKA, or things that are not in alignment with our goals, because it's like, oh, it's okay to the weekend, I'm allowed. Or I was so good all week, I can do it. Right? Going back to that cheat meal again. Right? So women that have this structure, they're able to stay consistent even when they're busy. Even when they're busy, even when life's hard and chaotic. When my husband is gone for almost a month, is my life going to be more busy? Yes, it is. I am going to be running the ship again, running my business, running the ship, still working, still doing all of the things, also taking care of all of the kids, doing all of the things. Okay. It's all on me, taking care of the dogs, taking care of the house, taking care of the yard, because we're going to be approaching May. And guess what, folks? The yard work's got to get done. Gonna have to fucking cut the grass and shit, clean up the stuff, clean off the deck, do all these things. More stuff, more things to do in the summertime. When the pool opens, more stuff to handle. So it's not about time. It's about how am I going to build every single thing in. I guarantee you, while my husband is gone, my structure is everything. And I just recently talked about this, how it's like when he's home, I've had a hard time because there is less structure for me. I negotiate with myself. I allow myself to say, it's fine. We can go on a date night. It's not a big deal. 17 times in a week. That is not realistic if I want to hit my goals. It's just not realistic. So this is not always just about time. It's also about what are you doing with the time? How are you structuring your time? How are you building that structure for yourself to make things work? And that doesn't mean you have to do 100 things in a day. Again, what's your non-negotiable? Figure that part out, then you can move forward. Diet Dropout Club, $37 a month, $1.23 a day, for fuck's sake. You can't even get cold protein foam at Starbucks for less than that. You pay like $2 for that shit. For a drink that you're going to drink. We just finished our water challenge and we are going into that masterclass. It will be about macros a week from today, actually, on the 28th. So, again, I'm going to remind you guys, this is where we need to be moving into. There are so many things right now that women are being sold, that they are buying, that is just absolute dog shit. And you're so worried about what peptide you're going to take and all these things. And you're not even, there is no structure in your life. There is no consistency in your life. And you're good all week and fall off on the weekends. And you're worried about what peptide you're going to take and what this you're going to have and what supplement you're going to buy. And, you know, all this, I just don't understand it. I cannot comprehend it. Cannot wrap my brain around it. So these are the places: Diet Dropout Club, Fat Loss Basics, group coaching. This is what we do. We build this framework. We remove the space for negotiation. We help get consistency regardless of what's happening, how chaotic it is. We pivot, we adjust without guilt, without shame. Weekdays versus weekends, they don't look much different. And speaking of that, I mean, I already got 7,000 steps in today. It is 11:23. Goal is 10,000. So we're well on our way. I did not want to do my walk today, but I knew that if I wanted to get my goal, I have to have at least 5,000 steps before I leave the gym. 5,000 is the minimum that I have to have in order if I'm going to hit my goal for the day. So now I know that's what I have to do. So I didn't want to get on and walk on the treadmill, but I did it because it was only 30 degrees here. Now, tomorrow I'm going to try to get outside and get my steps in. I even might go for a little walk later. Again, who knows? Who knows? But I know that I left the gym today with 5,000 steps. I'm going to hit that goal. That's the structure that I'm talking about. Link is in the show notes, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and I hope everybody has a great week. Catch you on the next episode.